right. So I am thrilled to have Carl Bliss with us today. Carl is the Director of Digital Media at Northwestern Media, which is tied to Northwestern College up in
Right.
Minneapolis, Northwestern University.
University of Northwestern, yep.
Okay, University of Northwestern up in Minneapolis. My sister actually went there, and I've got some nieces and nephews that are going there right now, and
Nice.
great school. But so Carl is going to be talking on the topic of bridging the gap between broadcast and digital. And Carl, you've been in this space a long time, and just share with us some about your background. How did you come to work inside of a radio station network, and specifically in the digital space?
Yeah, thanks. Radio's always been something that fascinated me, from like making radio shows on cassette tapes in my room as a kid. I actually toured in 7th grade for a school project, the station I'm working at now, which is kind of cool.
That's awesome. Cassette tapes. I actually remember those.
Thank you.
But do you remember the 8-track that came out before then?
I've heard of them. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess I'm aging myself. Yeah.
So loved radio, and then got into radio production, audio production for the radio network at Northwestern after graduating. And it's about that time the internet started to become a real thing in popular culture and communications in general. So I stepped up and started filling some gaps for the radio network in the digital space, and realized that my passion wasn't so much radio. It was just communicating and helping to craft a message, assess a medium, and communicate that message on whatever medium. So really found a love for digital. And then as we got into social and everything that digital allowed, really grew into that as a first love. And I remember probably a point halfway through my 20-year career there where I realized, if I ever left here, I wouldn't be looking for a radio job anymore. I'm all in on digital. That's where I am now. So it's been fun to grow up with the digital space in my work life. And that's kind of where I ended up where I am now.
Oh, that's great. I love what you said, that when you were getting started out in your career, you looked to fill the gap. And honestly, that for any folks that are early in their career, that is the best way to learn, is just look for what the organizational needs are and look to fill that gap. And
always say yes.
Always say yes. Exactly. Yeah. So what are some of the ways that Northwestern has bridged that gap between broadcast and digital over the years? And really, you guys have led the way in a lot of ways with a lot of music stations to do that. So talk with us about that.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. And as you mentioned, we're a network of stations primarily throughout the Midwest, but all locally staffed, locally operated. And we dove into digital. We made a couple, I wouldn't say mistakes, but tried some things and realized, where our strengths and weaknesses were. Really went all in probably 7, 8 years ago on digital content, text content, writing articles, blog posts, getting that shared on social media, because we saw the power of even the written word on social. But never really went all in terms of hiring writers. We were broadcasters, we were radio broadcasters, and tried to play in digital without staffing for digital. But then also realized that we have some strengths in terms of audio production. We are, that's what we do. We create audio experiences. And this is even before podcasting had its first birth and even second renaissance. Realized that maybe this is where we should be putting a lot of our efforts, into the digital consumption of audio content. So probably one of the biggest things we did is just hone in on what we did well already before hiring and growing in other areas. That's not to say we won't ever grow in our video capabilities or written word capabilities. But for now, this is one place where we realize we have a strength.
That's so good. I love what you said about identifying what our strength is as an organization, and then how can we amplify that? Kind of like in a personal setting, leadership setting, Jim Collins' hedgehog concept.
Exactly.
Identifying what you're good at and then become great at it.
That concept was pretty well ingrained in our culture, so it was used quite a bit. That and shooting bullets before cannonballs, trying little things to find what those good strategic opportunities are.
And that ties back to what you said to begin with. You said we kind of dipped our toes into water. We tried some things, and that some of them kind of worked, but some of them really didn't work.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of times that's what learning to bridge that gap is all about, is learning to take some small risks, see what works, and then being willing to amplify what does work, and don't be afraid to drop what doesn't work.
The other thing that helped with bridging that gap is getting a good handle on the inherent difference between broadcasting and what digital allows us to do.
How would you describe that difference? How would you describe that difference? Yeah, keep going.
Yeah. When you broadcast, we're sending our signal to a tower, it goes out, and it's one to many. It's one message. We do market research to know kind of what our mystery audience looks like and create an imaginary persona, but really it's one to many. And with digital, with every single interaction, even if we're writing one piece of content and thousands are coming to consume that piece of content, it's still a one-on-one relationship.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, every user is coming with something identifiable. We know where they are. We may know if they've been here before. We've got a relationship with them that we can start to build, and realizing that digital isn't built for broadcast. Digital is built for that one-on-one communication.
And that is so good. In fact, one of the sessions that we're going to have at the Digital Ministry Conference is, what are the 5 marks of a healthy digital mindset? And you actually just nailed 2 of them. One of them is that,
True to go.
Yeah, that's right. Well, one of them is that it's personalized. I mean, we have the ability to do one-on-one interaction now. So it's personalized, it's the ability to personalize. And the second one is that it's a two-way conversation. It's not just proclamation, it's a two-way conversation. And the sooner and the quicker, especially more established organizations, can recognize those key mindsets and have them work through the organization, the more effective that they're going to be in the digital space. And sorry, I'm not going to tell you the other 3. You're going to have to come to my session. So, sorry.
Okay.
So let's think about, like, you guys are a network of stations, and you work through the college or the university. But let's think about the folks that are coming to this digital ministry conference who might be a small station, or they may have 1 or 2 stations, and they are just, they're doing everything they can just to get the radio and the engineering and staff for that. And for them to think about digital, do digital effectively, sometimes that can be really overwhelming. So what would you recommend to a music or talk radio station that wants to take the leap into digital, maybe on somewhat of a small budget? What would you recommend to them?
Boy, that's a great question. I think, and there are no shortage of voices telling you what you should be doing, what you can be doing, that podcasting is the future of audio, that, you should be on Twitter and Facebook and Snapchat and TikTok and in a wide channel. If you've got a limited staff and limited resources, you can't do that. You're going to either do all of them poorly, or just burn your staff out. Be intentional. Like for one of our stations, they decided, you know what, we're going to go out. We're going to stop Twitter. Painful for me as an early adopter, but that was totally the right decision to make. Like, it's not where our audience is. It's not what we can do. We keep it for public relations purposes, but we don't use it as a communications channel. Sure. So what can you say no to? Sometimes it's finding a smarter way to do something. We felt the urge to, we felt the need to produce a lot of social media content to, amplify our voice on social, to get past newsfeed algorithms, to bring traffic to our website. And that's very costly to create that much content. We realized, for just $25 a post, we can kind of boost some of that and be intentional about, paid content became way more cheaper to us than organic content. So look for some of those smarter ways. Look for the things you need to say no to. Nobody knows your organization better than you do. Nobody knows the strength of your organization better than you do. What are the things that you can say no to, so that you can do a few things really well? You don't have to do everything.
Yeah, that's how kind of. I mean, learning to be intentional, be smart, learning what to say no to. That's huge. How have you found to be able to identify something that might be a fad and something that is here to stay for a while? How, any tips on
Yeah.
that?
You know, just after I said you don't have to do everything, we do try almost everything. Like, but
Yeah.
try it with
Yeah.
some intentionality, with a short-term purpose.
Yeah.
So one is, of course, just watching what your listeners or your viewers or whatever your broadcast medium is,
Yeah.
kind of watch what they're doing and where some of those conversations are. But then, feel free to try something. I'm just going to pull TikTok out because my kids love it. Boy, now I just sound adult. Here we go. And and give it a shot, but plan to cancel it. Like, don't just start a TikTok to see what happens. Say, okay, we're going to try this for 45 days. In 30 days, we're planning to cancel it. But we'll evaluate it. And if we get into this for 45 days and realize, man, we can't stop doing this, um, now you've been able to make a decision. Those are those little bullets you can shoot to try things out. So try things, on a small scale. For us, once it was, live video, Periscope, Meerkat, some of the early apps that were doing,
Mm-hmm.
live social media video.
Mm-hmm.
We tried that at some music events. We did a music festival and went all in on Periscope, but just for that music festival, and tried it. And then realized that's really cool. And that was fun. And it was great for the music festival, but probably not where our audience is right now. But then within just a matter of months, Instagram and Facebook picked up the live video component. And now we had some maturity built around that space. So just a chance to try some things out.
Yeah.
But you don't have to do it all the time. Just try those things at maybe a small scale.
And that's really good. That's really good advice for any of those, any radio station out there. So what about COVID-19? I mean, you and I are both working from home. As I told you earlier, I actually woke up with a little bit of a slight fever, so I'm not going to my office that is attached to my house. So up here in a little different location. Yes, folks, I actually am in my bedroom today. But so other than working from home, has COVID-19 changed anything else for your outreach?
Yeah. Well, certainly for radio, it's been huge where, we live in a pretty large metropolitan area. Most of our stations are in mid-sized metro areas. So the half-hour commute doesn't exist right now.
That's huge.
What does exist are workers working from home where they can play whatever they want as loud as they want and not bother their coworkers. So for us, it was watching that user behavior and really shifting our marketing from, billboards and listen to the radio station because the car is everything for radio, to, hey, you can listen on your smart speaker. You can listen on your computer. You can ask your smart speaker to play the radio station as loud as you want. So really shifting to that digital use of our content and focusing a lot more on digital advertising as opposed to outdoor marketing.
So did you actually see that shift in your digital logs or in your radio logs, or how were you able to identify that shift early to be able to capitalize on it early?
I think we identified it as a hunch, like just that immediate panic of people are going to be out of their car. And we started to see it in our ratings as well. Just fewer instances of people listening because they weren't driving as often. I think we just identified right away that that's a potential risk. But yeah, we saw it in our streaming numbers. Saw a shift from the mobile app to smart speaker devices or computers, from the in-office listening sessions of 8 hours to shorter listening sessions throughout the day, as people are coming in and out of whatever's going on in their home. Because if you had coworkers, they were probably your third and fourth grade kids who were also doing homework and pulling you in and out of things.
Yeah. No, that's really good. So, Carl, tell us, what is your favorite book on leadership?
So you did prep me for this question, and I don't know if I could identify a favorite book, but I will go with the one I've been reading the most recently. That's Henry Cloud's Necessary Endings. done in
Getting
2011.
growing to be a classic.
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah. I guess it's almost 10 years old now.
Yeah.
If any of my team is watching, it's not about you, but it's just. But I think talking about some of the things that you need to quit, and it's helped me to grow and realize, what are the things in my life that I need to be intentional about pruning so that I can grow in the right areas.
I haven't read the entire book. I've got it and I've read part of it, and it really reminded me a lot of Swenson's book on margin,
Mm-hmm.
and the importance to build margin. The way that we build margin is by learning what to say no to.
Right.
And that goes back to what you were talking earlier with radio stations, whether it's an organization or personally, just learning what it is that we should be saying no to so that we can be saying yes to the right things.
Yep.
Well, Carl, thanks for joining us today. And I hope that everybody who's listening to this will be saying yes to coming to the Digital Ministry Conference. It's going to be held June 17 and 18. And like we said, one of the topics is going to be bridging the gap between digital and broadcast. And Carl is going to be on a panel with several other, just really other top-notch people, Gordon Marcy and a couple others. So we're just thrilled to have that panel plus lots of other content that's going to be available next week. So make sure you go to the website, digitalministryconference.com, sign up, registration. There's no charge to it. We just want to we're looking at ways that we can give back to the community and really bring value to your ministry during this time. Carl, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Chad. I have to sign up now.